All right, guys. Let's let Representative Butler take his seat and then we'll get started. Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody here, convene this meeting of the Housing Committee. This is a meeting to raise concepts. We always, give the disclaimer in the beginning of the meeting. These are just concepts to be raised. We don't know the exact nature of what these bills are going to turn out to be, but these are things that I think we all agreed in screening that we need to make sure we put in front of the people to have public hearings, to have discussion, and make sure we get input from folks around our communities. And with that being said, do you have any remarks by my co-chair?
Nope. Thanks, Chair Felipe, and excited to be here. And once again, they are just concepts that we are raising. Thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think it is an important thing to know is there's not very much language behind any of these right now. They are truly a concept. There might be a paragraph most. So we do want to hear more. And that's the whole point of this, is to get to the public hearing, hear from the public, and understand what's good, what's bad, but we'll also have real language that when we're at that point, we'll be able to assess based on the language and based on what the feedback comes from the public to understand how we want to do and move forward, if we want to take this out of committee or not. So looking forward to actually getting the process started today. Today's the first one, the first real meeting, the first get going. Let's do it.
Yeah, we should hopefully be pretty quick. Can I get a motion? Or first, I want to read through the concepts to make sure we have every title. Concept number 1 is an act requiring all Fair Rent Commission hearings to be open to the public. Number 2 is an act requiring the posting of Fair Rent Commission bylaws. Item 3 is an act requiring a notification of rights to parties before a Fair Rent Commission. Item number 4 is an act concerning the amount a landlord may require for a security deposit. Number 5 is an act enacting a program to assist municipalities in developing pre-approved building plans. Number 6 is an act enacting a tax credit for the construction of residential units above retail property. 7 is an act concerning real property tax abatements for certain first-time home buyers. Number 8 is an act concerning regulation of corporate ownership of residential property. Number 9 is an act reducing the sales and use tax for certain goods used in new housing construction. Number 10 is an act concerning tax credits for the conversion of commercial properties. 11 is an act concerning the rental assistance program, RAP. Number 12 is an act enacting incentives for municipalities to implement higher density and light touch density zones. 13 is an act concerning guaranteed construction bonds. Number 14 is an act enacting a starter homes working group. Number 15 is an act concerning evictions for cause. Number 16 is an act concerning non-resident landlord registration and increasing penalties for repeat building and fire code violations. Number 17 is an act prohibiting a landlord from demanding a security deposit in excess of 1 month's rent from any tenant. Number 18 is an act limiting the increase of rental charges upon transfer of residential property to a new owner. 19 is an act appropriating funds for programs to assist homeless persons. Number 20 is an act enacting an interagency council on homelessness. 21 is an act prohibiting a municipality from imposing any penalty on homeless persons for performing life-sustaining activities on public land. I'd like to entertain a motion to raise number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 9 through 11, 13, 14, 19, and 20. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is anybody objecting to a voice vote?
So may I speak? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure this is the proper process to do this. We usually put it on a consent calendar and then go through. I just don't know if I just want to make sure that this
You don't need to put it on consent. You can just
this
raise
is
all the
fine?
concepts by
Read them
number.
all the time. Okay, thank you. Yes, then those were the numbers that we were comfortable with.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, everybody. Moving on, item 12, an act enacting incentives for municipalities to implement higher density and light touch density zones. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would like to ask a question kindly.
No, I'll get it next. I skipped 8, but we'll start with 12. Representative Corpus.
Thank you. I just had a question, forgive the neophyte in the room. Do we have any more background on what implementing higher density might entail?
These are concepts that are to convert some smaller acreage lots into making sure that they can build out and have more units on such lot. That's what we understand it as right now. Obviously, as we flesh out the concept, it'll have more information.
And the genesis of this idea?
This comes from the home builders.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Representative Scott.
Can you give an example and the definition of light touch density, just so we understand that? If you have it, if you don't, it's fine. We can obviously dive into it as we go further. But the terminology to me is important, so we understand a little bit more what we're talking about. Do you know that off the top of your head?
As I understand it, it is that conversion, but I do not have the definition off my head. No. Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? All right. We will vote on this one by roll.
This is a roll call vote on item number 12 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
No.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Rep. Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Kevin Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockadell,
yes,
Representative Jensen, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez, yes, Representative Sweet,
yes,
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco, yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir's yes.
Representative Zulo.
Rep. Zulo votes yes.
We
Ariana,
have
can we go back to Representative Scott?
Representative Scott,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking we were on number 8. I was confused as we were going back. So I was looking at the wrong number. So 12, I am a yes on, please. Thank you.
noted. I believe that brings us to 13 yeas and 1 nay.
Thank you, Ariana. Just make sure next time that I ask for the tally before we take it. Thank you. Next, or before I go on to the next one, I just wanted to answer your question now that I have an answer to it. Light touch density is moderately increasing density in areas zoned exclusively for single-family detached homes. You got it. Moving back to number 8, and that concerning regulation of corporate ownership of residential property. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Representative Weir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. With as much detail, or if there's any detail, I would like just to hear more. Obviously, I know we have a title and these are concepts, but in order for these, I think, to be in front of us here today, somebody must have had a spark of an idea of what the framework of this might look like on these concepts. So beyond just the title, it'd be helpful if there's any background information that would help us and those in the room and those watching on TV to understand what we're talking about today. Thank you.
Absolutely. 1 second. Sorry, this is a proposed bill that has many sections. We're only raising section one of the proposed bill, so we're raising this separately. But the in the proposed bill, section one was to limit the amount of properties that a hedge fund could purchase in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. So, we're trying to limit what, I get the hedge fund is we're calling corporate ownership. I think this, we can have a lot of discussion on this going forward. And when we're talking about residential property, is there an idea of what type of, what that concept means? To me, residential means a piece of property where people live. What are we singling out a certain type of residential property?
I think these are properties zoned for residential use. I'm not sure what the bill will be when it's fleshed out, but it's only one sentence, and that's what the sentence says. Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? All right, I'll take a vote by roll.
This is a roll call vote on item number 8 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
This one's no.
There you go.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedel,
Senator Hockedel votes yes.
Representative Jensen, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Turco, yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir is no.
Representative Zulo.
Rep. Zulo votes no.
All right. Just want to make sure that we correct something, but unfortunately we can't change it. On number 12, the tally was announced, but the tally wasn't asked for. We're not announcing tallies because we want to hold votes open. So unfortunately for folks who weren't here for that vote, they'll have to have missed it because we announced the tally. I know. And also, I just want to make a note, anybody holding a sign, we do not allow signs that pick one side or another of an issue to be in our committee rooms or in our chambers. Thank you. All right, moving on. Number 15, an act concerning evictions for cause. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Representative Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you give a little bit of a background? I know we've seen this concept come before this committee in years past. So I know this is not a new topic. Can you give a brief explanation, description on what we expect to see out of this concept?
This bill extends the just cause eviction statute that is currently in place for people 62 years and older and disabled people to all residents in buildings or dwellings of 5 units or more. There are some modifications that have been made, and this will be the most compromised version of the bill that we had last session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll just make a general statement on the concepts here today. I appreciate the explanation. I think in this room and in this state and as a legislative body, we have an obligation not to pick one side or the other. And I think that we want to be looking at a place where Connecticut is a state where businesses, where people, residents want to come to, right, and invest their capital, invest their money. So I think I know we want to proceed cautiously when we're looking at proposals and policies that inhibit investment into the state. I think we want to be very cautious when we take policies and we take a position of discouraging investment. If we encourage investment, you're going to have more supply. And following the way that the market works, if you increase supply and you make it a welcoming place, people are going to want to invest. Supply goes up, prices should come down, and availability becomes more. So again, we want to encourage ownership, and we want to discourage policies that infringe on private property rights, because that removes any incentive for coming to this state to invest. So thank you for answering that question. I wanted to give the preface on what's driving and guiding my reason for asking these questions and voting today.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is going to be one that we're going to have long debates on. We'll have long conversations on. We're going to have a long, probably public hearing on. Probably one of the biggest bills we'll have in the Housing Committee this session. I always go back to what's going to help us build more housing. What's going to help us solve the issue that we're trying to solve. And I do worry that this is going to actually do something reverse. I think talking to some housing providers, I do worry that they're going to be deciding to potentially sell out of those units and move on. And those units now will not be available for rent. People will buy those houses to live in, and we're actually defeating the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, which is giving more housing opportunities for folks. So it's a conversation we'll have. I also worry about the contract nature of this, the government being involved with a contract between two resident and the housing provider. I do worry that we're dipping way too far into that. And again, we'll have those conversations as we continue to move on. All things we had last session, we talked about. It did not get called to the House floor. And we'll have again this time, and a conversation that I'm more than willing to have, but one that I'm gonna have a hard time grasping based on those two factors that I called out before. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Any questions on Zoom? All right, I'll put it up for a roll call vote.
Representative Butler.
Oh, sorry, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing that this deals with evictions, no matter what happens here, if it actually makes it out of our committee, will it go before the Judiciary Committee for their review? Seeing that we're talking about evictions?
No, I don't think this changes a statute. It just extends it to hit a broader group of people. So I don't know that it would have to be automatically referred, though they may ask for it.
Okay. And I'd just like to say, I mean, I might not necessarily like certain aspects of this, but I believe during the public hearing process that it's very important to hear from all sides, because I found out in all my years here, there's so much to learn when you get people in front of you to give their testimony. So I look forward to the public hearing and actually getting more detail into this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We know Waterbury will be in the House. Any other questions? All right, now we'll take a roll call vote.
This is a roll call vote on item number 15 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
No.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Brown is yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockedel's a yes.
Representative Jensen, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco, yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir is no.
Representative Zulo.
Reb Zulo votes no.
Thank you. Moving on to number 16. An act concerning non-resident landlord registration and increasing penalties for repeat building and fire code violations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Representative Scott.
Mr. Chair, can you remind me, I believe last year we did something similar to this. Is this an extension of what we did last year? Is this a change to what we did last session? If you just fill me that in.
This was a bill that we heard last session that did not pass.
Okay, did not get
It was an increase for fire code and building code violations from $250 to $500. Last year's bill did have an increase in jail time from a year to 2 years. We are not pursuing that this year coming up. And this bill in particular also includes a registry for people who own property in the state of Connecticut, residential property. We're not sure exactly how that's going to work out, but we do want to make sure that some of the LLCs that may own property have a point of contact for their residents.
Thank you.
So, Representative Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recall that certainly the penalty piece of this in previous legislation, the non-resident landlord registration. It almost seems like these are two different concepts in one bill, and I may be mistaken. A landlord registration and increasing the penalties. I don't recall those being put together, and it may just be my poor memory. I have been a proponent and will continue to talk about this, about making sure that the bad actors, as we've talked about, who are causing the vast majority of the issues, or where a lot of the concerns that we hear are coming from a handful of property owners. I am a believer that the local municipal level is a great way to hone in on those. This gives me pause, so that's the second piece of this, is where I want to learn more. I'm tending to vote yes today to learn more about this, but I have a grave concern over asking non-resident landlords to register. I want to know what does non-resident mean? I mean, a bad actor who's based in Connecticut is no better than a quality housing provider who happens to be based out of state. So
Just to clarify, non-resident is a person who does not live in the unit. You could live next door.
Okay, thank you. So a bad actor is a bad actor in my opinion, but I want to, I'm tending to lean to learn more about this, but it just seems like we've got two disjointed concepts put under one bill, and I'll have to try to reconcile that in my head. Thank you.
Understood. Any other questions? Seeing none.
We have a question on
Oh.
Zoom from Representative Zulo.
Representative Zulo.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for the indulgence. Just very quickly, I'm always cautious about over-regulation of housing providers. I think, we have a climate in Connecticut that's a little bit difficult to operate in, but I'm also very concerned about the number of units in our state that are offline because of building and fire code violations. And, we do have a housing problem in Connecticut, and this is low-hanging fruit to be able to get that back online. So I'm a big proponent of trying to crack down on those bad actors, as my colleague Rep. Weir noted. And I'm also a fan of non-resident landlord registration, even if the person's living next door, if they're living down the street or a couple towns over. Unfortunately, a lot of times towns just don't know who to contact when there's something wrong at a property, when there's a blight, when there's an emergency. And I know a lot of towns across the state have moved in the direction of trying to do this. And while, of course, I want to see what the final legislation looks like, I'm certainly interested in hearing this, because I do think that, crafted correctly, these are both good ideas for the state. So thank you for the indulgence.
Thank you, Representative Zulo. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll take this vote by roll.
This is a roll call vote on item number 16 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
Yes.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
Yes.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockenell,
Senator Hockenell votes yes.
Representative Jensen, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Turco votes yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir is yes.
Representative Zulo.
Rep. Zula votes yes.
Thank you all. Number 17, an act prohibiting a landlord from demanding a security deposit in excess of 1 month's rent from any tenant. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? 17. Representative Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, I know we've seen a concept similar to this over the past couple of years, and I'll just, without dragging this on, when I see words like prohibiting coming out of this building or mandating, or shall or must or may not, it concerns me that we're dictating policy at a state level for, we're interfering in a potentially private, contract between two consenting adults. So you've got two parties to a contract, and we're interfering here in the middle. We don't necessarily do this with a lot of other industries. So I'm concerned about this. Wanted to give that little bit of preface that here we are kind of creating mandates, and you may or you may not out of this building. So thank you.
Just to be clear as well, this is a Department of Housing proposal, and number 4 on our agenda is basically the antithesis of this. So it's hearing both sides in a public hearing. Any other questions? Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that at the federal level, if you older than 62, they can charge, more than one security deposit. And as far as I know, their landlords, they are asking, even though if they are older than 62, they are asking more than 1 month rent. So I think that this bill, I think that this bill, it will help, because I don't think that it's fair, if you're a young person that is just starting and you're working and you're trying, you have your family, you're trying to survive, and you need an apartment. When you go out there, these days are crazy, and they are asking for 2 and 3 months security deposit. How can we help, and we can be fair with the young people? They are trying to survive here. It's crazy. So, we have to be, and let me tell you, most of the time, I want to be fair with the landlords and tenants, and that's the right thing to do. But it's like these days, it's crazy. I went to first time in my life, I went to a fair rent public hearing, and I was shocked when I heard all those tenants. And this year I came in with a different perspective, because I think that it's getting harder and harder for landlords. But when I heard people in that public hearing talking about secure deposit, 2-3 months, and people that they're trying, to start a good life with a family, it's impossible. So if we want to be fair, I think that we have to give it a chance. And this is a good bill. This is also my bill. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing, it does say security deposit in excess of 1 month's rent. Security deposits can be whatever you want them to be. They don't necessarily have to be the same amount as your rent. This would be limiting it to the amount of 1 month of rent. Any other questions? Representative Butler.
I don't know. Just the way I read this, it's very concerning. I can't see how we could ask landlords to be in this business and not have more than 1 month's rent for a deposit, with all of what they have to face, they take on a lot of risk. And just to have just 1 month, actually, to me, the way it just reads here,
Mhm.
just seems like we're putting the people who actually providing the opportunity for housing at higher risk. And as has been said here earlier today, we need to reach a balance between those who provide housing and those who want the housing. And this just provides too much risk unless there's some other criteria. So I will vote for this concept, but I could tell you right now, if there's no other criteria that makes sense, I'm going to be a hard no on this. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just to clarify, it would be 3 months rent because you can still charge your first and your last plus the security deposit. So it'd be, you could charge up to 3 months rent. You just can't charge 4, 5, 6 or onwards. Representative Gonzalez for the second time.
For the second time, thank you. As far as I know, security deposit, you can use the security deposit to pay rent. Like let's say that, working in next month, you're going to tell the landlord you can use the security deposit for rent. That's not legal. So that's not right. So that security deposit, they use the security deposit just in case when you are moving out. Now they're going to be checking, any damages, and then we'll keep their money if they have to. And even though that we don't live in a perfect world, I always say that. That's something that happens all the time. Because even though you leave your apartment is in single condition, I will say that a lot of times the tenants, they don't get the deposit back. It is a law out there that I don't get the deposit. The landlord have 30 days to return me the deposit. If I don't get the money in 30 days, I can take my landlord to court and I will fight it. And I can ask up to $2,500. That says that I pay $450 for security deposit. I don't get my money back, but the apartment is in good condition. So I take that person to court, and because they didn't give me the money and I have to take it in court, I can request more money than what I pay. And I'm saying this because I went through that years ago. But it's there, and it's a lot of tenants that they don't know that, and it's about maybe providing the right information. I think that most of the time the landlords they don't provide this kind of information, so it's good if I'm going to sign a contract to know what it's all about, the security deposit and what it covers. But I'm saying again, I think that maybe we can tweak it a little bit, and maybe we can say like, okay, if the landlord and the tenants agree on something different, I don't think that it's fair for us to say, well, no, because the legislature is saying that you cannot request more than one. But if they agree, let's say that the tenants agree with the landlord, most of the time, the tenants sometimes they end up agreeing with the landlord if they want to rent that apartment. So if they agree, I don't think that we should, say no. I think that we should allow. I think that we can take the bill and allow the tenants and the landlords come up with agreement if they decide that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Weir for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, merely asking for clarification. Prior to Representative Butler speaking, you talked about, and I'm going to paraphrase, feel free to set me straight, that the security deposit does not need to equal 1 month. Maybe I misunderstood, but it could be a different amount than the rent.
Currently, a security deposit is not a month of rent. It's a security deposit.
Does this proposal or concept look to change that, or you're just merely making?
Yeah, I believe the concept would then limit you to 1 month's rent as a security deposit. So you could charge less since you don't have to charge a month worth of rent, but you can't charge any more than a month's rent. Thank you, Representative. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Corpus, use the hand raising function on your Zoom and we'll get to you. Representative Corpus.
thank you. I could not figure out how to do that. I apologize. I just want to applaud the comments of the other members of the committee. It seems to me, as new to this process, that we all want to create the right incentives for affordable housing in the state, for young people to be housed, for incentivizing landlords to rent properties. I think that my objection to this is simply the way of going about it. I think we ought to be doing everything we can to incentivize people to make more rental properties available. And I applaud Representative Gonzalez, who said that, yes, there is a benefit to allowing the landlord and tenant to strike their own bargain, given the facts and circumstances of their own situation. So I am inclined to vote no, but I did want to say how important providing affordable housing in the state is to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions on Zoom? Seeing none, we will take a roll call vote.
This is a roll call vote on item number 17 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
No.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez,
Yes.
Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockendahl votes yes.
Representative Jensen, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco, Representative Weir,
Weirs, no.
Representative Zulo.
Rabzula votes no.
Sorry, Turco, yes. Ariana,
Got it.
thank you.
Thank you. Number 21, an act prohibiting 18. Oh, sorry about that. Number 18, an act limiting the increase of rental charges upon transfer of residential property to a new owner. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody on Zoom? Oh, Representative Weir.
Can you, Mr. Chair, can you give any more description other than the title on this one and any future ones if
This is also a Department of Housing proposal. From my understanding, it's to limit the rental increase on a transfer of a property, so somebody buying a property from someone else, to 10%.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that explanation. And do we know if that, if the property transfer occurs within, and there's a lease in place, an existing lease, a rent agreement in place, does that apply to the existing agreement, or are we talking about the agreement ends, the lease agreement ends with the current resident tenant? Can the landlord and the tenant then renegotiate the lease outside of the, are we talking inside of a lease agreement or outside of a lease agreement when this transfer occurs?
My understanding is that if there is no lease, there is no rent to be raised, but that may be semantics. I'm not sure. We haven't written this out yet. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. In terms of the word new, do we know how long that goes? Someone buys a new property, they're a new owner. How long does that extend? Do we know at this point how long? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? A month? How long is that considered a new that they can't do that?
I think this is only upon transfer, so when they become a new owner. But if they, let's say we put this into law on July 1st and they are a new owner as of June, they would not be included, I don't think.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Anyone on Zoom? Not seeing none.
Representative Zulo has a question on Zoom.
Oh, Representative Zulo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And not a question, just a quick comment. When you're drafting this, I'd hope you take into account the fact that, a lot of times rents are below market. A lot of times families will hold on to properties for a long time. and they'll be renting to somebody. I have one right now where the person's paying $600 for a beautiful cape. They've been paying it forever. They're a wonderful person, and it just so happens the rent never went up, but the market value of that rent is probably $2,000. So I think we've got to be careful about, first of all, I have great concerns about interfering with these types of contractual rights, but I think as you're drafting this or you're working with DOH, please tell them to take these kinds of situations into account where we're going to have to at least peg something to market rate, because new owners should have the right to at least be charging what's market rate or somewhere around there. So just some constructive comment as you move the bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions here or online? Seeing none, we'll put this up for roll call vote.
This is a roll call vote on item number 18 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
No.
Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockedal votes yes.
Representative Jensen,
No.
Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Turco, yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir's no.
and Representative Zulo.
Rep. Zula votes no.
Thank you. Number 21, an act prohibiting a municipality from imposing any penalty on homeless persons for performing life-sustaining activities on public land. This bill comes from seeing a Supreme Court case that happened last year, where I think it was in Ohio, they deemed that you can give somebody a fine, a civil penalty for sleeping outside. Those penalties, the penalty for not paying that fine is an increase in the fine. Not paying the increase could be jail time. These people who are sleeping on our streets usually don't have the means to pay the first fine, definitely not the second. And this is a means for some of our municipalities to put people who are in dire straits and homelessness into situations where they'll be facing legal ramifications. We are just making sure that they do not have to face those here in the state of Connecticut. If people want to do that elsewhere, that's their business, but we want to be a good actor here in the state. Any questions? Or, sorry, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two points here. One, I'd heard that, potentially we're going to be taking up a bill around prohibiting structures at places like parks from allowing people to sleep on benches and stuff like that. Is that part of this bill, or is that going to be potentially second bill? First of all, is this just part of this bill?
Not currently.
Thank you. And then secondly, and my biggest issue with this bill, well, I 100% agree with what your statement was that you talked about just a few moments ago. Is some wording in this bill, or just not in the title, that I'm not 100% understanding is life-sustaining activities. There are many it's breathing, it's going to the bathroom. There's a million different things that is under that. I think we're going to need clear definition of what we're talking about here, because to me, that is so vague that if somebody defecates in the park, that's a problem, right? That is a problem. That is not acceptable, right? If they take a bath or a shower in there, if that is life-sustaining activity, that is a problem. So we just need to be very clear on what this is, because it's so vague that I don't even know what this phrase is. Like, I'll be honest. So I just wanted to call that out now.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Anybody on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll vote by roll.
Representative Corpus has a question.
Representative Corpus, sorry.
No problem. I think that I will vote no on this because more because I believe it should be the prerogative of the municipality. I would hope very much that my local municipality would vote to support people in this very difficult position. I have a lot of empathy for that. But I feel like it's better handled closer to the people and in the local communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I heard all the comments on this, and it is a problem. This is a problem because when you allow homeless people to go, in front of a senior center, go to the bathroom, and doing all kind of stuff, and seniors are very scared. That's a problem that I have in my district. How can we resolve the problem? These are homeless people. Yes, we got to help them. But we have to look on the other side also. How we can resolve the problem of the homeless people doing all this stuff, in front of my house, around the school, around the senior center that I have a senior center, and the school is next to the senior center. And I have complaints all the time. How can we be able to resolve the problem and be fair with both? That's one thing that we have to check into this bill. How can we resolve the problem and be fair with both? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Just want to clarify, right? We're raising a concept. I'm not sure where the term life-sustaining activities came from. We're really just talking about sleeping outside, right? Sleeping, breathing, doing the things that regular people do every day to make sure they sustain life. We're not talking about taking showers outside with a bottle of water or defecating on public property. Just to be abundantly clear, that will not be what the bill is written to reflect. Any other questions? Seeing none, we will vote by roll.
This is a roll call vote on item number 21 on the agenda. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott, Senator Sampson, Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
No.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockedal votes yes.
Representative Jensen,
No.
Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Turco, yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir's no.
Representative Zulo.
Representative votes no.
Thank you, everyone. And just as a matter of notification, we're going to leave votes open until 2 o'clock on Zoom. But we'll move on now to matters to be reserved for public hearing. Item A is proposed House Bill 5002, an act concerning housing and the needs of homeless persons. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Representative Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like, just for the public and for my knowledge, and we have freshmen here on the housing, can you explain what a subject matter public hearing is and how that's going to process? Because from my understanding is there will not actually be a bill written before the public hearing, which is the normal process with the concept we just raised. There will be a bill actually written so that when people give testimony, they will have a full bill to read through and understand what the concept is turned into. Where in this scenario, this subject matter, there's not going to be a bill. They're going to be speaking on basically what the headline is for that intents and purposes. Is that correct? And if you could just give any other extra commentary on that.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. This is a proposed bill from House leadership in order to, as the title says, tackle housing and homelessness. Not sure exactly what that will entail. Most of that, I assume, is things that will have been on our agenda and gotten public hearings as bills before. So we're not trying to dupe anybody, but this is just an avenue to kind of bring some of those concepts together where we see they fit.
And there were a couple homeless concepts raised already that we put through right at the beginning.
Mhm.
Will they be, I guess, what would be the difference on that specifically? Like what would, like, we already have some concepts already there. What would be the difference?
Well, I would assume since it's a subject matter public hearing and this is housing and the needs of the homeless, that if there are needs that we haven't addressed that people are looking to address, they can then testify based on this title. Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I look forward to this because there's not going to be one solution to the homelessness problem we have in the state. There's going to be multiple things that we're going to need to do to address this properly. So I guess the subject matter hearing is going to bring to bear the various kinds of things we need to do to tackle this homelessness issue, because it's, just think, this last week, the weather outside. I was in my home and I was cold. Imagine being outside in this weather. We have to do something, and a subject matter hearing is going to bring many possible solutions for us to consider to the forefront. So I look forward to this, and we as the state of Connecticut need to put a solution in place to address this. And I look forward to this and working with leadership, the leadership of this committee and all the members to come up with solutions that are going to address this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? Senator Sampson,
Mr.
thank you.
Chair.
Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I'm a director of a homeless shelter, and so I'm looking forward to the public hearing. I can share with you so many stories and so many things right now, but it would take forever. But I can tell you this. Presently, my shelter is filled to the max. We have turned people away because we don't have the room. The state does not provide enough funding for these shelters. People are hurting on a daily basis. Families, if you come to my shelter, you will see babies, you will see families, you will see single men, single women. Many single women are senior citizens who have lost their homes because they live on a tight budget. So there's so many stories to share, and I'm pretty sure during public participation, you're going to get an earful. And I ask my colleagues to please listen carefully to these stories. We have to come up with a solution. We're one of the richest states in the union. There is no need for us to have homelessness in this state or in this country. It's really sad. And I deal with this. I've been dealing with this for almost 2 years. And I can tell you, like I said before, I can give you so many stories. And all I ask is that when public participation does happen, is that my colleagues, please listen carefully to these stories. And we need to come up with some type of solution to help so many that are in need in this state. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I truly appreciate the time to speak. I think that this actual concept of homelessness is very important for us. I'm starting to hear everybody say that. Back again another year, and that's what makes it more important for me. We have a bunch of people outside in these buildings that come to us and talk to us about these activities. So we have to really tackle not just heating and cooling centers or people sleeping outside, but also talk about the people that are working for the facilities that are trying to cure these people that are homeless because they become homeless. Talk about the people that are re-entering back into society that come home from doing jail time and being re-entered back into society so that they can have homes to live. This is bigger than that. So I do want everybody to understand, the people that get in front of you, they're gonna tell you guys some real stories. We got to take that into heat. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of this. Homelessness is not just cooling and heating centers and shelters. It's deeper than that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just want to clarify, this is housing and homelessness, just so everybody knows that it is it will be a holistic approach, whether we want to look at relief for good landlords, whether we want to look at tenant protections, whether we want to look at making it easier for people to build here in the state of Connecticut. That is also something that could be included in this concept. It's not just a homelessness concept. Representative Gonzalez.
Mr. Chair, I can agree with my colleagues here. I think that we have a problem, a huge problem here in the state of Connecticut. And the thing is that, and the sad part is that we hear this every year, and still the problem out there. It seems like us here, the legislators, we're not doing enough. You know, when we vote to pay for abortion, people coming out of the state of Connecticut, and we vote for that, and we pay for that, and we don't look around, and we don't see that we have bigger problems. We have homeless people that are out there, they really need help, but we helping people out of the state. I think it's time for us to see what is the problem, how we can tackle the problem, and how we can resolve the problems here in the state of Connecticut. If I have a problem in my house, and I have a problem, and it is a problem in the neighbor, I will resolve my problem first, so I can help the neighbor. You know, and here I think that we work in a reverse. So I hope we can all work together and resolve this kind of problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Gonzalez. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll take a vote by roll.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I can't find my function on
Senator
my-
Gaston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of what was stated by many of our colleagues regarding homelessness. It is a crucial issue in the state of Connecticut, but we're seeing a rise of this happening all across the country, especially in states that are becoming increasingly unaffordable. We know that the state of Connecticut is increasingly unaffordable, especially for people who are of working class. I have had countless of conversations across my district, which encompasses Bridgeport and Stratford, where people actually are being sort of taxed out and priced out of the places that they've been living for decades upon decades. We see a rise in people purchasing properties in excess of millions and millions of dollars and then raising the rent, not by just 5%, 10%. We're talking about raising the rent sometime in some cases up to 50 to 60%. And these are people whose incomes have stayed relatively the same, but yet the prices in rent have gone up astronomically and they cannot afford to live. So we have an affordability crisis happening right here in our backyard, on top of the fact that, there is a statistical analysis that was done around housing that shows that in Hartford, the price of rent is the highest in the nation out of all 50 states. And if you look at that and you look at places like Bridgeport and Waterbury and Stamford, those places are also becoming increasingly unaffordable. And I'm afraid that a lot of people in those communities will be displaced and have to either go to other states or they're going to add to the numbers of people that are homeless across our state. And I think that we have a fiduciary responsibility as well as a more an ethical responsibility to look out for the least of these. And I hope that this concept would not only just look to assist those people who are homeless, but also people who are on the brink of becoming homeless because they're working 2 to 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet, put food on the table, while at the same time providing for themselves and their families and keeping a roof over their head. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll put this up for a roll call vote to raise for a subject matter public hearing.
This is a roll call vote on agenda item A. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott.
Yeah.
Senator Sampson,
Sampson is yes.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts is yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston is yes.
Senator Anwar, Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus,
Yes.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockedal votes yes.
Representative Jensen,
Yes.
Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco.
Turco votes yes.
Representative Weir,
Weirs, yes.
Representative Zulo.
Rep. Zula votes yes.
Oh, thank you. Move on to item B for our subject matter public hearing, proposed Senate Bill number 12, an act concerning Connecticut's housing needs. Is there a motion?
Motion to move to approve item B.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for missing the lion's share of the meeting. I was at a press conference elsewhere in the building. Sometimes that happens. We end up having to cover multiple committees and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that you can maybe share or shed some light on what Senate Bill 12 hopes to be. I understand right now it's some pretty nebulous language about fair and equitable housing. Maybe you could just fill me in on what might ultimately become a part of Senate Bill 12. I know that that low Senate number kind of gives an indication this is a priority bill for Senate Democrats.
I'm going to defer that question to my Senate co-chair.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Simpson, it's exactly what you said. It's a priority bill for the senators, for the Senate. We have not sat and drafted it yet. We will meet with leadership, and by the time we vote on it, I'm sure it will be a robust, good bill.
Thank you very much for that feedback, Madam Chairman. I do have a concern about it because I noticed that this is being placed under the category of reserved for subject matter public hearing, which means effectively we're going to have a public hearing only on the language that is currently contained in Senate Bill 12, which, as I just mentioned, is basically a sentence that doesn't tell us much at all. And I really don't think that's fair to the public. I never had a fondness for subject matter public hearings because ultimately, I believe that people should see the actual language that would be passed into law so that they have the ability to comment on that and decide whether that's, positive or negative or provide input. I understand that doesn't always happen. And certainly in the case of the previous item, the House bill that we just talked about regarding housing and homeless persons, maybe you're searching for some input to create a policy. But I have a feeling that Senate Bill 12 is already determined, maybe predetermined, and I just think it's not right to put it on the agenda in such a vague manner to advance it for a public hearing that will not ultimately shed light on what that policy is going to be. So we're going to have a public hearing. Who knows who will comment and what their comments will be based on a vague bill. And then once that's drafted, it'll be just left up to this committee to proceed without public input. For those reasons, I'm going to be a no today. And just for sake of time, I just want to make sure that we have it on the record that, most of the other items on this agenda were simply concepts to be raised. And I know that there were yes and no votes on a number of them. I just want to point out that even a yes vote is not any sort of commitment to ultimately support the final product. It's just a commitment to, draft a bill into language and have a conversation about it. And certainly we reserve the right to vote any which way at the point when the bill is actually drafted. And I think that's it for today. I'll just make one final comment about Senate Bill 12, which is that, judging by some of the other items that are on this agenda and what I've heard around the building might end up in Senate Bill 12, I just want to raise an alarm that if this committee is truly concerned with addressing the housing alleged shortage and affordability problem, the way to do that is to encourage development and housing providers. That's the way to do that. You wouldn't, chase away someone who sells a certain product and then complain that that product's not available. And that's exactly what's happening when it comes to housing. Is, each year this committee raises bills, whether they pass or not, they're sending a message to people in the world that, if you're a landlord,
we're going to make your life harder. We're going to limit your ability to protect your asset by shrinking security deposits. We're going to, take away your rights to your own property by creating a policy that says that you've got to maintain the same tenant indefinitely unless certain conditions are met. That's just not the way to encourage people that provide housing to want to do so. I know a lot of landlords, and they tell me that they don't publicly advertise their property anymore. The reason that they don't is because they are concerned about the environment that they have to operate in, whether they're going to potentially find themselves in trouble with CHRO, or just the difficulty in getting through the great number of unqualified applicants. I have a landlord friend who told me yesterday, he says, I have 3 vacancies right now. There's no shortage in his world of property, but he takes call after call from people that are just not qualified to rent. So, I mean, that is a factor also that we have to, factor in the economic situation in the state of Connecticut and the fact that people are struggling because things have become unaffordable. And I would attribute that to policies on a national level, the printing of a great amount of money. And again, without going too deeply into it, it's important for me to get it on the record that is a factor. You can't just keep leaning on the people that provide housing and expect that situation to get better, because the more you do it, the less housing there will be.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions? Seeing none, Representative Butler?
Yes, I just can't let those comments, stand without at least a counter to this, because we're talking about a bill that is going to come before us in a subject matter public hearing. So even if it's a brief sentence or two, okay, we're going to get testimony on housing needs for the state of Connecticut. And I believe that there's going to be a multitude of ways that we can make more housing available, make it more accessible, more affordable, and actually make make a real commitment to providing funding for the development of more housing. So that's going to come before us. And we can actually look at putting that into this Senate Bill 12, and we get to actually, incorporate that stuff and have a public hearing on what we find as language that we want to go forward with. So, I don't subscribe to preconceived notions. People might have ideas. There's a ton of ideas. There's ideas of homelessness, the funding, because let's be real, there's been homelessness proposals in the past that we just didn't put the money in place to support it. So we have to put our money, where our mouth is. And like Representative Sanchez said, we need to support these initiatives. Never mind talking about it. Let's fund it. Also, starter homes for our young professionals. And then there's another aspect, the permitting process for developers who want to develop housing. Many times the permitting process is just, cumbersome for people who are trying to develop housing. We could take a look at that. And we need to provide incentives for developers to build more housing. So there's a multitude of things that can come before us that we can adopt to put in this bill. And I look forward to the public bringing all those ideas here before us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Butler. Any questions? Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the deference. And I'll just respond since my good friend, the representative from Waterbury, who I've served with for many years and understand his desire to really advance, the cause of housing in Connecticut, and I agree with. But I think he proved my point. He listed a dozen or so different policy items that I'm would imagine he'd probably put forward as bills. And that's the way the process should work. Those bills should go in front of the public so that they could be commented on. And instead of a bunch of vague language about fair and an act concerning fair and equitable housing, and asking for commentary is not the way to do it. It's about putting a policy initiative in front of people so that they can say it's good or bad and provide input to it. That's just my view. And I appreciate the difference and look forward to many, many enlightening debates in the future with my colleagues on both sides.
And for the second time, I would just beg to differ. I don't think anyone has a monopoly on great ideas, and that's why we're here, to actually open up the floor to our state for the ideas that they could bring forward to make housing in the state of Connecticut a better place for affordable housing for all. Thank you, Mr.
I would just ask that we, one, wait until you're recognized by the chair, and two, we don't do too many back and forths when it comes to ideologies rather than policies in the committee. Any other
Please
questions?
excuse me.
No, no
Mr.
problem.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Butler. Representative Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that I think that me and Senator Sampson, we don't agree a lot on issues of housing, but I will say, we hear and we have different opinions. I respect yours, you respect mine. So I know that sometimes I'm very passionate about these issues, but I can agree on something that he just said. That he said that he don't agree that we don't have a problem with housing, shortage of housing. And I can agree on that point because I think that we say a lot in these public hearings and these meetings, but we hardly doing anything to resolve some of the problems. Now, having a shortage of housing, I can agree with that. The problem is the rent. The rent is out of control. Now, if I need an apartment and I go out there and I can afford just to pay $1,000, and then I find an apartment that the rent is $1,500, I'm not going for it because I know I'm not going to be able to afford it. And that's the problem that we have out there. We can stay here and we can stay here forever and we have to discuss and we can say whatever. But at the end of the day, if we don't resolve that problem, rent control, if we don't resolve that problem, we will never resolve the problem. Homelessness is out there, but funding is very necessary. That's what we have to look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? I see Representative Corpus online.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of the statements that have been made. I think that we do get to the best policy decisions with a free and open debate where the public can be heard. I just share the concern mentioned earlier that if we're not specific about a bill, it's going to be very hard to get to the pros and cons of what we're ultimately going to be voting on. So I am probably a no, though I want to hear everything everyone has to say, purely on the basis that the procedure would be better serving us if it were more narrowly crafted, if the hearing were more narrowly defined around a specific set of language. And that does not exist as we sit here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions? We will take this vote by roll.
This is a roll call vote on agenda item B, excuse me. Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Marks,
Yes.
Representative Scott, Senator Sampson,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Gaston,
Senator Gaston votes yes.
Senator Anwar,
Senator Anwar votes yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Butler,
Yes.
Representative Corpus.
Yes, with the hopes that we can narrow our conversation as we go. Thank you.
Representative Gonzalez, Representative Hall, Senator Hockedal,
Senator Hockedal votes yes.
Representative Jensen,
No.
Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Representative Sweet,
Yes.
Representative Turco,
Urko votes yes.
Representative Weir,
Weir is no.
Representative Zulo.
Zulo votes no.
Thank you all. We're going to leave votes open until 2 o'clock today on Zoom. There's not going to be a room, so anybody who is not here in person and you're in the building, just go to your office, go on Zoom, talk to Ariana. She'll be waiting for you. And with that, any closing remarks from my Senate co-chair or my ranking members? If not, the Housing Committee will stand in recess. Yeah. We will quickly resume the housing meeting and just announce that the date of our next meeting is next Thursday, January 30th at 11 a.m. Thank you. Oh, sorry, 1:30 p.m.
Madam Administrator?
I don't think CTN is recording. Nice to see all of you here today.
Good to see you as well. Do you know if the administrator is on or they're kind of waiting?
She probably went on a coffee break.
Oh, I could only imagine. Okay.
Senator Gaston, I see you here.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to vote on everything.
I'm sorry, hold on one moment, please. I
No
can't hear you.
Yep.
I see you here.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to vote on everything.
Hold on one moment. Senator Gaston, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I want to make sure I had an opportunity to vote on everything and I didn't miss a vote.
See you here.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity. I'm hearing an echo, but I can hear